I'm Candace Lamb, and I'm back. I'm a little late to the Micah Parsons party, but I'm still going in. In case you missed it, the Dallas Cowboys lost to the Eagles at home on this past Sunday. Micah Parsons had a question asked to him. He responded, and it's been very controversial. Here's the question. Here's his statement. Micah was asked what he would tell people wondering whether Mike McCarthy would be the head coach in 2025. Here's Micah's response. That's above my pay grade. If Mike's coach again next year, Parsons said. All coaching aside, Mike can leave and go where he wants to. Guys, I kind of feel bad for is guys like Zach Martin and guys who might be on their last year, on their way out, because that's who I wanted to hold the trophy for. Now, Micah has been under scrutiny once since he's been very outspoken on his own podcast, right? And although these comments weren't said on his own podcast, the spotlight has already been put on him because of his outspokenness on his podcast. So when he said this, people just were in disarray, in disbelief. Like, did he just throw his coach under the bus? Well, did he? He responds. On his podcast, Micah said, I never once threw or even intended to throw Mike McCarthy under the bus. The question that was asked about here in the Dallas Cowboys, did I see Mike McCarthy in our future? I said, that's above my pay grade. Mike McCarthy also responded. Micah and I had a conversation this morning about it, and we handled those things as men should handle it. Mike McCarthy said, that wasn't his intent, but that's something he can talk on. Here's my opinion. I want to hear you guys'. Now, I'm all about freedom of speech. I've even said, in the past that I didn't mind Micah having a podcast. Not like it's up to me. He's going to do it if he wants to anyway. But I feel football players should have a life outside of football. And freedom of speech, that's his choice. If that's his outlet, let him be. As long as he's not giving up game plans, etc., etc. But in terms of this and him speaking out, even if it was on his podcast, even if it was on the locker room, in the locker room, no matter where it was, I think that you just, as a football player, have to be careful of the responses you give and just realize that you don't have to answer every question. If you don't have the answer right then and there, or you know that you can't phrase it in a positive manner or a way, unfortunately, that it can be misconstrued, just say no comment. Or just say, I need to think on it. Something other than that comment. Mike can go wherever he wants. I personally don't think that Micah meant it in a negative way, but of course, it's media. It's clickbaity. People are going to put it out there that, wow, you threw your coach under the bus. He can go wherever he wants to, really. So I can see both sides of it. Him not meaning for it to come out that way, but it absolutely coming out that way. But I can appreciate him coming out and explaining that that is not what he meant, because he didn't have to come out and explain it. And, Mike McCarthy didn't have to make a statement on it. Honestly, none of these guys have to let us into any of it. But I do appreciate, hearing the after story of it all. Hopefully, after this, Micah will be a bit more careful with his wording if he does choose to answer questions in the locker room or on his podcast or wherever it may be, because this world, media, social media, can just be a cruel place, and you say one thing and it can be spun out of control. So I think it's just a learning lesson for him. He's still a young guy. He's still, learning how to navigate the media, I believe, and he has his own podcast. He's learning to navigate that, which a lot of people don't think, oh, active players should have a podcast. That's neither here or there. It's here. He has his podcast. He's obviously very outspoken. I just say, if you care about the backlash, if you care about your team, then just be a bit more selective of the questions you choose to answer. And when you do answer those questions, just realize you don't have to go into detail, or you don't have to answer every question. That's all I have to say. What are you guys' thoughts on that?